Welcome to Feedback Fix, where we get real about the messy conversations that move us forward. We are a live podcast, which means no scripts, no do overs, just unfiltered, honest conversations happening as they unfold. I'm Colette Revere, and today I'm sitting down with a very special guest. He works with companies to modernize their supply chains, and he's also my partner in parenting and in life, Leif Revere. Thanks for being here, Leif.
Thanks for having me.
So I usually start with other questions, but since you're a special guest, I'd love to know how awesome is it to be married to me?
Ooh, you didn't write that answer for me, so I have to look it up on the fly. No, it's awesome. We've been married for 10 glorious years, and they've we, they've been the best 10 years of my life. Period.
Nice. Good one. Well, I'm so glad to have you here. And I know that normally we talk about work and we will probably be doing some of that, but this is really about like our personal experience and the things that we've learned along the way, mostly through our mistakes. Huh?
Absolutely.
So let's start with work. Will you update us on what's happening with your work right now, what you're doing?
Sure. So I've been lucky. The past 8 months, I've been working with a company, a consulting company called BrightX, and we are working with Mars Pet Care. So the pet care division for North America is actually based in Nashville. So we are working on an SAP project. We're integrating SAP to OMP, and so we're changing all the integration touch points. We're also sending some messaging and updates to their warehouse management system. So it's been a really fun project. I haven't worked on SAP in 15 years. So I had to dust off a lot of old SAP knowledge, but it's been really fun. Great group of people, smart folks, and we are staying ahead of our other groups. So I'm super excited to be able to report that every week when we get on a group call.
So, what do you think is required in terms of communication and feedback to be good at what you do for work?
Sure. So I guess my area is supply chain. So obviously communication all around, up and down, making sure that everyone is fully aware of what's going on. The role that I'm performing now is really a project manager leader role, and it's all communication and all feedback. I mean, it's letting people know they have deliverables due, letting people know if they slip past when the deliverables are done, and trying to work it out with them to find a more a better date for them to deliver. And so, yeah, I would say communication, and then that feedback on not only when they're missing items, but because of Open 360, we have learned a new way. No, no, and learning from you, and even giving feedback when things are positive. So trying not to just be the Grim Reaper and deliver bad news, but trying to reach out to people, let them know, and give them feedback when they've done things that are outstanding.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Thank you for the shameless plug, too. So, how would you describe your communication style just in general, Leaf?
Um, I guess I don't know if you know this or not about me, but no, I'm introverted, so I would much rather sit back and not say anything. Or my go-to would be to send an email because I don't have to have the conversation and give, especially with bad news. So I think communication style, I would say reserved.
Mm.
I try not to say 10 words if only five are needed. However, I tend to lean on the side of maybe saying 3 words continue with that analogy, so it's definitely something I need to work on, had some great communicators um, that I've worked for, worked with, and been married to. So I don't really have any excuses. But yeah, I think it's more the reserve side and not wanting to communicate when I don't have to, but realizing it's a component of any job you have.
Yeah. Well, I hear you describe that as a negative, but what is positive about the way that you communicate and your communication style?
I think I try to be um, jovial. I try to interject
I do know.
fun. Yeah, you do know that. I do have some bad jokes, um, which it takes people a while to kind of get used to that style where it's dry but it's meant to be disarming,
Mhm.
to make sure that it is important. It is especially work. We do have a mission, but it's luckily I'm not in a life or death field, so it's the stuff that we do is not gonna uh, directly lead to someone getting harmed. So I always think there's opportunity for levity.
Mhm.
However, um, I do probably interject that a little bit too much, and it's probably even a defense mechanism if you wanted to get me on the couch, which we only have 50 minutes, so I don't know.
Right, right. Lucky you. No, I really experience you. It's interesting, Leaf, because no, I totally see this side of you. I do know you're an introvert and you like to think about what you're saying before it comes out of your mouth and sometimes like ruminate. I also like to ruminate too. So I get it. And I experience you as very talkative. I do.
I think you're unfortunately the only one I talk to, so um, but I come from a long line of talkers with my mom and dad. You both know.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, maybe with you, I think I feel very, very comfortable with you, and don't feel kind of judged, and um, feel like I can say something and I'm going to get an honest response, even though I don't want it all the
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Um, so maybe I am talkative to you, but I would say, uh, in general, I think that being introverted and that does cause a challenge with communication, being an effective communicator.
Yeah. I think you do a good job, just for
Thanks.
the record. So, how
Thanks.
would you describe my communication style?
Yeah, let me get the paper out.
Come on.
You are no, no. I think you're very communicative. I mean, obviously you're extroverted, but that doesn't mean um, that you're just blabbing all the time. Um, I do get worried when you're not talking, but
You
um,
should.
yeah, I know the cobra's about to strike. But no, I think your style is upfront. I think people um, see that genuineness in you and they feel comfortable. Um, and I've tried to take a little bit about that. I know when I say things to people and I make a odd face, I know they're thinking, "Uh-oh, is he? What's going on with him? Did he been sniffing paint or something?" Um, but yours is more of a genuine, good feeling, and people have that feel receptive when they're communicating with you. So I think that's
Oh,
effective and also has led to your creation of open. Sorry, gone to the well three times
you could
already.
be sweet. You could be sweet. You know what? So my mother-in-law, Lois, described my communication style once, and it was pretty funny. We were in the car on the way to the airport to pick you up from somewhere, I think. And I think I was complaining about something. And she described me as not somebody who sweeps anything under the rug, but somebody who beats out the rug daily. And, like, I think that's totally true of me. Like, nothing goes uncovered, nothing goes undiscussed, and I can imagine how obnoxious that is. And, like, you are the only person I've met as a partner who can hang with that. So I think that's pretty incredible that you have the fortitude to really stick with, um, being being open and talking through things, you know?
Yeah, and I think it helps. I know we were going to talk about Christian and our
Mhm.
son and our communication, and um, I know we've had some fun discussions about me correcting him, and then I hear from downstairs, "Don't do that to make it." And it's right. It's just one thing I was thinking coming to this was trying to figure out that gap and realizing that, thinking I'm right, stubbornly not wanting to move from being right to realizing I'm wrong, to realizing the big picture of especially communicating with him is tucking that away and making sure that they're giving feedback that he can use and not something that's going to be detrimental.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody yesterday coaching, and I wonder what you think about this because I was telling him the currency of relationships is not truth or logic, to be honest. Like, that's important kind of out there in the world, but the currency of relationships is almost, I would say, validation and value. So being right is not like, I don't wanna say it's not a big deal, but it just is not what runs relationships. So it's almost is inconsequential in most instances. But what do you think about that?
No, I think it's yeah, it's very astute. I think it's again with Christian, it is a lot of me use the bathroom as an example. He likes to think he's at Nashville shores and splashing all around, and uh I just hear my dad's voice in the background going, that water's gonna get down below that
Oh, no.
tile and it's gonna rot that out. So in 20 to 25 years, you're gonna have to replace that. And who's gonna do that? So that's running through my head. And so the communication part of it to him is like, hey, do you realize what you're doing? And
Mhm.
he's looking at me like I'm just having fun slinging this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how have you adapted? Because, well, how would you, and I can tell you my thoughts, but I want to hear yours first. Like, how have you adapted since becoming a parent? Like, what's the transition look like for you, do you think?
Uh, I think I think I say things a lot more. I'm a lot more repetitive. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Um, Not just with you. With no, I mean, with just with Christian. But I think I'm more reflective on communication. I know in the evenings, after I put him to sleep, I'm walking down the stairs. I'm like, oh, I should have said that, or I should have done this, and I've got to communicate better, and not say this, don't say that. Um, and you had mentioned kind of the empathic stuff about it, but being a little more empathic, and I think that lack of that, and I think maybe being introverted is you don't want to put yourself out or put yourself in someone else's shoes because you want to be closed off. You feel more comfortable when it's just you and in your way. So I think it all stems from that. But um, yeah, that's probably a long answer to a short question.
No, it's good. I think, so when we talk about like you not being used to it and kind of you mentioned before wanting to be right, I think there's something kind of social and gendered about that because you and I have had this conversation before. As a woman growing up in this society, it is expected that you will learn to consider others, that you will not take up too much space, that you will be empathetic and those sorts of things. That's kind of the norm and it's what's expected and women shape each other in that way, as much as anything. It's just kind of like part of what's in society. And I think for men, I don't think that's the message that you get. I think the message for men is like stand out, be the best, kind of like it's not about tending to other people or the group unless it's your family in like a practical way. And so I do think like I don't know how I would be different if I was raised differently. I think a lot of what you see when it comes to my communication is kind of how I've been shaped. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I mean, you kind of or I was about to do my hand like this to lead.
Mhm.
You're taught, you need to be a leader, and I mean, career wise, as you lead, you tend to um, or to become more of a leader. You are leading more people. So again, I guess it's army or military related, but you give an order, you expect an order to be executed, kind of thing, and
Mhm.
yeah. So I think there is something to that. I don't. I think it is more southern, just from traveling around. I think I see it more in obviously growing up in the South. I don't think I recognized it as much until I started traveling and seeing other parts of the U.S. and then other parts of the world where it's just it's different. It is a culture, and it is. I think it exists in other parts of the country, and it's taught like that, but it is different in the southern U.S.
Yeah. So, how do you think, thinking about this, and like, especially with do you think our son experiences feedback from us?
Yeah.
He's 7, by the way, everyone,
Right. Yeah.
7-year-old
Right.
boy.
Yeah, right. Um, I think he hears it the first time. I think he definitely hears, and
Yeah.
he decides how he wants to take it. Using a video game, for example, I think yesterday I told him 6 times, "Okay, we're home, time to turn the video game off." And usually for the first 3 times, he doesn't even acknowledge,
Mhm.
and then the 4th time, he says, "Oh, I'm right in the middle of a game," and then, of course, I go to the game, say, "Game over, restart."
Mhm.
So, uh, he's stretching the truth, and then I'm almost out of battery, and I forget what the 7th one is, but,
Yeah.
6th or 7th one, so, um but I think watching him yesterday at the doctor's office, for example, he does listen and he
Mhm.
does take it in. And I think he's got a good basis because he kind of knows, hey, this is information I need to do
Mhm.
versus, my dad's saying it. He's always saying it, or mom's saying it. I'll get it on the fourth or fifth try. So
Yeah.
I think he's very keen to it. Um, but one thing I've noticed is he takes it a lot better from you because of the way that you deliver the message. Uh,
Really?
yeah,
You
mine's
think
usually.
Okay, you go ahead, sorry.
Yep. I was just gonna say mine is more demonstrative and a lot of action verbs, where yours is more um, getting him to understand. So I definitely need to get work on that because, um, yeah, he definitely I think is more receptive um, because he understands it a little bit more, and versus me just barking it out uh, to him and not allowing him because he'll. The good thing about it too is he'll interject and be like, "No, no, no, I don't. I'm not going to do that.
Mhm.
I could." Now there's that balance between what's not necessarily the truth and
Yeah.
what he's but I think he's got a good center there. But the way that you give him feedback and communicate with him, it's more nurturing and it's more inclusive to where he can kind of understand the why versus me just barking him out. Uh, why? Because I've even said this to him multiple times. I said because I said so, and then I think, oh, geez, he's gonna. Yeah, I don't want him repeating that in
Yeah.
5 or 6 years to the police officer.
Well, it's interesting because I feel well, before I became a parent, I thought I was patient. I thought I was things that now as a parent, I understand that I am not exactly like I thought I was. Like I thought I'd be really equipped to do this parenting thing, especially like as a former therapist and working with kids. And then when it comes to our own son, I was just at a loss because I thought, I'll be structured, disciplined, this will work. And for our son, as you know, you draw the line and he puts his toe right over it. Like that's the thing. Drawing lines doesn't work as well with him as other things. And so I've had to relearn it too. And I don't know, I'm just learning as I go. But I think I'm figuring out number one is like connection is the key because I don't feel like I'm having my own reaction when he's doing something I don't want him to be doing. And then I have another reaction because my ego is like bruised because I'm his parent and I feel like he should be doing what I ask him to do. And I think that's kind of similar as, like, also when we got married, like, in our partnership, I think in the beginning, the intensity of the feelings of, like, "This is not right. I shouldn't be talked to this way. I shouldn't be treated this way." And, whenever you get in arguments, and I think this is what I see happening with him too, is just like learning to dial it down and that all of these other superficial things, these little battles are not important. Like it's our relationship and our teaching him how to become who he is in the best possible way. Like, that's it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think ego, what you mentioned, was definitely a big thing because it's I'm thinking that I'm teaching him to be a upstanding young man, but it's more of me playing it out, and he is an upstanding young man. He just
Yes.
he he portrays it in a different way, and yeah, so it is kind of checking the ego part of it. Um, but yeah, it's a lot of trying to do that or be calm because you want to react.
Yeah.
You don't want to let it what you think is festering or not being addressed. But I would say probably yeah, maybe half the time it's things that can just be let go um,
Yeah.
and not worried about in 25 years that the
Mhm.
subfloor is going to have mold on it or
I think we're getting better. Who do you think has grown more in the past 7 years, us or him?
oh, I think us. I mean, I think he's yeah, how to deal. I always thought I would be. You mentioned about the therapy side, and yeah, I do see that. But then I also see you when you're having to run after him in TJ Maxx because he's running through pulling clothes off the racks or um and yeah, I thought being a the fun uncle and being able to, but it that there's that little bit of it. Um, but no, as far as growth, yeah, I would say he's definitely he makes it because every day he's fired out of a cannon at 6 o'clock in the morning,
That's true.
and whether you feel good or you're um, worried about something, he's going to be full bore. So it's requires I think both of us. When we just when I look at each other, it's like, why is he
Mhm.
up at 5:45 a.m. on a Saturday morning? But yeah,
Well, how do you think that, having a son and becoming parents has changed our relationship? Better and worse?
I would say for the better for sure. I mean, I think we commiserate a lot more. I mean, we have a common I mean, we were, I think, different personalities, but also different hobbies and things that we like to do. But we have this one very present, attention needing um, being that allows us to talk and see and bounce things off each other. That's definitely for the better. I think for the worse, we don't have as much free time, and when we do, it's usually on the couch
Yeah.
uh, but that's not all bad either. Maybe as an introvert, that was my evil plan.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think I agree with that. Like, you and I are so independent because this ain't our first rodeo when it comes to marriage and relationships. So when we got married or even just started dating, we're both so independent. We had our own lives and our own ways of doing things, and we totally respected that for each other. And then we have our son, we adopted our son, and um we had to learn to work together in ways that we had avoided learning how to work together before we had him. We were just so hyper independent.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And there's no way we could. You mentioned it a lot, and I think especially on a long weekend where you've got a work thing and you've got to be out
Mhm.
of town. We, um, you mentioned about being a single parent. Imagine doing this, and I can't because we do have to effectively hand off things. Otherwise, I think we'd go insane. And
Yes.
maybe just because of that independence and wanting to have some time. And I think obviously both of us together and doing it together, it gives us little pockets of time to, I guess, stamp out our independence until
Yeah.
someone comes running through the house naked and wet and not wanting to get his hair brushed. That's
That's
me, by
true.
the way. That's not Christian. No.
You're so silly. So, I think another thing about parenting together, it has shown me that you and I, because we are so independent, I didn't necessarily know this, or maybe we've grown more like this, but I really think our values are so similar that we really, really have strong shared values that we operate by. And it really, I feel like, is kind of the backbone of our family.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think, my uh, my stepdad mentioned something the other day. We were eating dinner with them about. Um, he said, "I saw your note online that the teacher had sent about what a great kid Christian is," and I was like, "Yeah, he is. Lucky him." He's like, "No, no, no. That's because of you guys too." He's like, "You got to take credit for it." And I think having those shared values and wanting him to be successful and free and a free thinker and all those things, I think it does help. And then again, I know we're talking about feedback and communication. I think that's been one of the cornerstones because I think even feedback with each other,
Mhm.
like if I get cheesed off and moping, and then I have to come over to you and go, yeah, you're right. I should have just let it go. We can find other cabinet doors online somewhere. So, but I think kind of feedback kind of puts the nice tail end to that because it does help, and then I think it helps me to hear you give and watch you give feedback, so I learn a little bit more about maybe more a more effective way to do it.
Thanks. I'm winging it. But I will say that something you mentioned makes me kind of want to get on a soapbox a little bit. And it's that what a Jet told you about being good parents, and that's why our son is good. And I'm not just I do think that we are good parents and we work really hard at it. And I think parenting in general is just a narcissistic trap. It is. I think part of the difficulty of parenting is that you own your child's behavior, good or bad. And it's this kind of enmeshment that's like, what is mine to own and what is his to own? And really discerning that because I mean, we've been in situations where, you see this kid, we've been the people where their kid is just like going crazy. And of course, you're just thinking the parents don't care or they're not doing something. But in reality, we know when it happens to us, it's not that we don't care, it's that we have totally lost a handle on whatever's happening. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, the example I used was, I was kind of saying in spite of us, a little bit
Mm,
tongue in
yeah.
cheek, but but no, I definitely see examples. I mean, I traveled a lot before we had a kid, and the 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 screaming kid on a plane. You're like, oh, that was my kid. But then you and I, the first time we flew with Christian, were both just like tense, and I've never had a more stressful flight in my life. Just waiting for him to explode or barf on the person in front of us, or
I know. And then remember when we got to the airport where we were going, he just was so tired, so hungry, and so done. He just sat down on the ground and refused to move and get
yeah,
in the Uber. So, the vacations as a family are definitely different, like hotel rooms. I can't even think about a hotel room without thinking about our son just stomping loudly across the ground over and over again, like
jumping
screaming at
from
the
bed
top
to
of
bed.
his lungs and what that's doing to the poor people underneath us. So thank goodness for our friends with vacation homes and
Yes.
Airbnb. Shout out Megan and Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And then trying to wrestle him and calm him down when he's just enjoying being in a new place and
Yeah,
realizing, hey, there's two double beds that I can jump from and to and bounce around and roll under six pillows. And yeah. And that'll what hopefully what he remembers and not me trying to catch him and tackle him down to the ground and put him in bed.
I know. I think it's his enthusiasm is really good for us. Like I do think he is our teacher and he's bringing things into our lives that we actually needed, but we didn't even know. And his enthusiasm and drive and kind of positive attitude most of the time is just amazing thing to have every single day, to wake up to.
Yeah. Yeah. Not quite as early as we have to wake up to it.
No,
So
I wish it was
I
more
know.
like 9.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I am thinking about the time when he gets older and has snuck out for the night and wants to sleep late. And
don't say that.
I'm going to be walking through with a wooden spoon and a pan, banging on it to get him up out of bed. But
You better believe it, and I'm gonna be a spy. I have no shame in my game with, surveillance parenting. That I will have tracking devices, I have no doubt, like, I'll be keeping up somehow, hopefully. Okay, so we were going to talk about your most powerful feedback. And I know that you had thought of a work experience, and I don't know if this conversation has changed anything for you, but I'd love for you to share your story. And if you don't mind, I love this. If you could share in the first person, like it's happening right now, like say, tell us where you are, tell us what's the situation is, what you're feeling.
okay.
Okay.
All right. Let me get into
No,
the mood.
get into character.
Um, yeah. So my first real job, I was 22, just out of college, just out of a management training program, and I had written a couple of documents. And mind you, this was back in the mid 90s where people We even had managers that didn't have computers on their desk, that didn't want them on their desk.
But you
Uh,
still had the same email address, right?
yes, it's an AOL exclusive.
I know.
Grandfathered in. No, this was back when I was working with SAT and grades.
Okay.
So I had written a couple of documents. And again, you remember those days where people could do the outline font in Word and you looked at them like, whoa, they're special. They really know what's going on. Meanwhile, I had no clue. I was just too poor to go out and eat lunch with everybody. So I just stayed and worked on the computer during lunch break. So I'd written a bunch of, or not a bunch, two or three documents, and it got lauded by the management team there. And then one of the managers, Peggy Winstead, shout out to Peggy, called me into her office and said, "Hey, I want to talk to you." And, I came swaggering in thinking, oh, she wants to compliment me on another great job, just like everybody else did, because I figured out the difference between point 12 and point 14 font. So she pulled out my document and it had red marks all over it and questions and X's. And uh, I was thinking that maybe Peggy was off her meds, what's going
Oh,
on.
God.
So she proceeded to give me feedback on it had to been 6 or 7 points on this 1.5 page document that I had either misstated or um, um, had made assumptions on things that weren't correct and or didn't address the process. So I remember sitting there and I remember that warm feeling kind of all over my body and then thinking it was coming up to my ears that because I had gone in there really proud and with a big head, and then I was completely deflated. And she, I think she recognized that, and she said, I'm giving you this feedback because I think you are very smart, and I think you've done a great job. I just want you to do better." And I remember that. I remember she's wearing a white blouse. I remember all and the way she gave the feedback, it was direct. It was right. Looking back at it, it was 100% right. I had made wrong assumptions. I didn't have the process right. Um, and she was able to do it in such a way. And then the disarming part where she knew it was damaging my ego, and she gave me the message in such a way that it was not completely deflating, where I wouldn't give her a document anymore. In
Mhm.
fact, I think for a couple of years, I would take most of my stuff to her, and she would take the time and help and give feedback. So, and a great resource, great friend, great mentor, and really owe a lot to her because she's was able to not just slap me on the back, and she could have easily just said, "Oh, this idiot's gonna keep writing these moronic documents," and but she took the time and made the effort, and I really now can thank her, and did have an opportunity to tell her how much I appreciated her leadership and friendship.
Oh, I love that story, Lee. It sounds like it was just a giant swing for you from coming in thinking that you're gonna be praised for the great job you did, and then seeing this piece of paper with all the red marks and X's and question marks and, getting embarrassed. And so how long did it take you from making the switch of kind of that embarrassing feeling to actually being able to appreciate what she was saying?
I think that's where she had her special sauce was she
Mhm.
was able to look at me, and she used to tease. She had a son my age. She used to like, "You're just like my son." Um, and she's like, "I wish my son listened as much." And I would tell her that I get paid I have to listen to her. So we would joke about it. But I think it was actually right then because she was able to look at me and say, "Hey, I'm not," and kind of not stroking my ego, but I realized she wasn't trying to damage it um, and trying to hurt. She was actually trying to help. So I think it was
Yeah.
right then. I mean, and we literally walked out of the conference room. I can remember the walk, and her office was here, and we walked, and she called me in, and I was getting the pats on the back, and so it went from here to here, but it was the best
Totally.
year.
That's good. So let me ask you this. Did you ever did it reset your norm about where your ego was in that job? Like, did it reset you to here, or did you go back kind of to that elevator place?
Yeah, I think it was kind of like a helium balloon. I think that's the best analogy. I would get up, and I think Peggy, would realize I was getting a little too high and yank on the string. So,
Mhm,
yeah, I think it did. I mean, it was a male dominated uh, management team. I think Peggy and then one HR manager were the only women. And it was a startup. We had combined two DCs, went onto one system. So it was very, very stressful.
mhm.
And again, I mentioned there wasn't there wasn't an AI component or a chat bot. I couldn't go to Chat GPT and ask it. So I mean, um, so you would do things, and the leadership would be like, "Oh gosh, he split the atom." So
Mhm.
you would feel that, and it was good feeling. And then her feedback, and I had a colleague and a couple of colleagues. They were like, "Ooh, don't go talk to Peggy. Don't go."
Mhm.
And I don't know why. Maybe it was dumb luck or just the way that she struck me. But I just realized the only way to get ahead, and it was to get her feedback because it was salient, and she had the right motive because she wanted the facility. The facility was her baby. She had done a lot of the system stuff, uh, so yeah, it did go up and down, but I think uh, she also knew when to kind of pull that cord down, or she would congratulate and on things that records that our team set or whatever. She would know when to give that positive feedback as well.
Yeah. And it sounds like she made it really clear that her concern was not only for the business, but for you, like that she saw potential in you.
Yeah, for sure, and I think that was you talked about disarming. I could definitely feel that genuine feedback. You get people that just give you feedback about stuff, and you can tell they have an ulterior motive or they're not.
Mhm.
But I could tell that she was 100% on my side, and
Yeah.
is just there to help. So yeah, I got to reach out to Peggy. Maybe she'll see this. We're connected on
Yeah.
LinkedIn.
You should send
Well,
it to her.
she's long since retired, but yeah, she's definitely somebody I thought about right when you mentioned about coming online because
Oh,
she was good. Um,
yeah.
and it was good because it was also tough too. Um, you talked about those crucial conversations and the things that you've got to have to develop that. Um, she didn't really have that with me because she had been out of the office for a while, so it was really but again, her personality and her genuineness came through.
Yeah. So how have you as a leader taken that, or have you, and kind of paid it forward, applied it for other people?
Ye- Yeah, I think yeah, just trying to be especially when you've got to ask someone to redo stuff.
Mhm.
Um and kind of look at things from a different way. I think being able to empathize because yeah, I know I've said it more than once that hey, I've been in your chair, and some my boss was telling me to redo this, and don't think he or she knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So try to disarm a little bit, but also being direct on with the feedback and make sure and then I think the final thing is just either at the end of the conversation or another conversation, just make sure, hey, are we all clear? Do you understand? Just so if it is something that maybe it's taking them a second to digest and give them an opportunity to express anything after they've had a chance to calm down.
Yeah. And kind of respecting that emotional curve that inevitably happens for most people when you get called into a feedback conversation.
Right, right. Because
Yeah.
they, I know I'm not as empathetic as Peggy and is in tuned and adept at giving that feedback. So it might take people might be on a different journey than me.
Yeah. So how does that work with us? Like, how does it work when you know I have feedback for you? I don't necessarily give you like a ramp up. It just kind of comes. How do you deal with that feedback?
Uh, I think with you, I mean, I guess using the pay exam, I know it's coming from a place of wanting to help. And you say it a lot. You're like, I'm not saying this to beat you up.
Mhm.
And I think initially you talked about how our relationship has grown. I think initially I would have been like, here she's about to give me a left hook putting straight
Mhm.
across. And
I think so.
but maybe over the years, over time, and that medicine that you've been giving me in my food every morning, uh, I uh, I know it's coming from a genuine place, and it's not from
Yeah.
a place of hey, I want to beat you down, or so it's yeah, I know it's coming from a good place. So and I don't always take it initially, but I can't think of a time where it's been something that it hasn't at least had some impact and caused a shift, maybe even a minor thing. But yeah, it's definitely coming from a
Yeah.
genuine place.
I think you've realized over the years too how even though I am the person who, as Lois says, beats the rug out every single day, nothing hides under that rug, but it's not because that gives me happiness. It's out of it's a stress response, to bring everything into the light. And so I think you've seen now that we've been married as and together as long as we have that there is a cost for me. It's not like an enjoyable experience for me.
Yeah, just like
Yeah.
camping. Yeah, it's not enjoyable.
Camping is an enjoyable experience. This is not an enjoyable experience.
No, this is
Okay.
more enjoyable than camping.
No, no way. No way. Okay, so we are almost out of time. I want you to tell me what's hmm, what is the best thing that's happening for you and for us right now?
Uh, I think for us, I never thought I wanted to work from home. Um, and I like the wallpaper, by the way. Must have
Thanks.
had a really good help.
You help.
Um, but I think it's helped our relationship in that yeah, I know I come to your office probably more than you want, and but I think it helps us more communicate. I think we're able to level set, and again, I'd always enjoyed going to an office just to be able to
Mhm.
get there and not feel like I could leave it, but I, I think I was just kidding myself. Is you don't leave it. I mean, there's constantly things bouncing around, but
Mhm.
I think that's been good. I think
Yeah.
is I'm on a contract opportunity now, so depending on what happens in the future, I don't think I would be as adverse of working at home, as averse to working at home, just because of kind of what we've been able to work out.
Yeah.
And then I think the second thing is obviously with your business and it really growing legs. I think that's exciting. I know that's something that it's always good to be a part of, but kind of feel like I'm from the sidelines a little bit and helping you and seeing that you're seeing your vision come to light. I mean, I've heard you, I guess, going from saying, "Oh, it's been my 2 year baby, now it's my 3 year baby." So I'm anxious for you to really get kind of grow legs with the business and achieve what you've been dreaming about.
Yeah.
And then I guess the third thing is uh, with Christian, obviously going into second grade, and I think it's going to be good. The social thing, we're excited for him well, we don't have to worry about him being a social butterfly, but
No.
uh, being in a environment where he can flourish, and because it's almost exponential. The things that he's picked up is reading, his comprehension, his listening to daddy saying bad words. But I think it's neat to see that growth, and selfishly having him really be enthralled with football. So we'll be a combined fantasy football team this year.
I know, that's so cute that you guys are doing that together. I'm so glad you have that. And, so I'm gonna go to thank you for sharing yours. So I think for us, it's, you had your accident last year. And um, for those listening, Lee fell 20 feet off a ladder with a chainsaw in his hand directly onto the ground. And it's really miraculous that he didn't have brain damage, spine damage. He had a lot of damage, but it's been repaired and he's walking after being in a wheelchair for a couple of months last year. So, it was really intense. And um, I'm just grateful for what we have, for our family, for our home, for our friends, for our partnership. And yeah, I'm very, very grateful. And then the business, like you mentioned, I keep trying to drag you into you said you're on the sidelines. I don't do sports references, but I'm just going to say I keep trying to pull you onto the field. Help me out. No, but it wouldn't be possible without you. Like, we have made a lot of sacrifices in our family for this dream and for this business, and you've been really, really amazing about it. So I'm really grateful for that. And then the last is our kid is so cool. He just is. He's smart, wise, funny, fun. She's just so cool. And
Wow.
so, loud. Yes, he is. He is loud. But I'm so excited to see how he continues to become his self, and like how we can help support him and help bring that along.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. I love you.
Love you too.
Thank you everyone for joining us, and thanks for family and friends. This is episode 11. We only have one more left in season 1. Next episode will be our last. And thank
The
you for
season
joining us.
finale.
No, you're not the season finale. Sorry.
Oh.
Bye.